The New York Islanders are an up-and-coming team, but there's one position that's been a problem for this team for months. We'll break it down for you and discuss how they can address it before it derails their playoff hopes next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 till the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to discuss on today's show. One position has been a problem for the Islanders for months now, and they don't seem to have a way to solve it. We'll talk about it, break it down, and figure out what the best course of action may be. We'll answer your mailbag question on Simon Holmstrom, talk a little bit also about the Islanders' joyful day off on Sunday in Minnesota, and we'll preview tonight's game against the Winnipeg Jets. What do the names Marshall Warren, Adam Boqvist, Travis Mitchell, and Cole McWard all have in common? If you guess that these are players who have tried to fill the Islanders' 6th defense position since the injury to Alexander Romanov, you're right. And what we're seeing now is a team that is trying to figure out if they have a possible solution on their roster to fill that missing spot. They're looking for a third pair defenseman who can be reliable, play opposite Scott Mayfield for the most part, and keep things simple, straightforward, and get the job done. And they've tried all these different players that we mentioned just now. But one thing that all of them do have in common is the lack of trust that the team seems to have in their ability. And what do I mean by that? I don't mean to say that disparagingly, that these guys can't play, because that's not the case. But the one statistic I look at is time on ice. And none of them are averaging more than 12 and a half minutes per game, except Cole McWard, who averaged 13:44. But, that was in 3 games. And, McWard out of the lineup right now. Patrick Roy already announcing that Adam Boqvist will start again and be in the lineup again tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. So Cole McWard plays 3 games, then he's out for 2. Adam Boqvist averaging a little more than 12 minutes average ice time per game. Travis Mitchell, 11 and a half. Marshall Warren, 3 seconds less than Travis Mitchell. Right now, this team does not have a third pair defenseman that they trust. And Mathieu Darche, in one of the many interviews that he's given recently, has indicated that, he's going to try to look within the system first. He said, you don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction. The reason you have a minor league system, and I strongly believe in the minor league system, maybe because I played too many games in that league, I believe in those guys getting opportunities. When I talk to Rocky Thompson in Bridgeport, all right, who plays well? Who deserves to be called up? We give them the opportunity. And some of the guys we sent back, it's not necessarily because they were playing poorly. It's just, hey, let's try someone else. A few guys deserved an opportunity, and they gave us good minutes when they were here. Right now, it's Cole McWard, and he's played well. We'll see where it goes from here. And look, with any coach or general manager, you got to always read between the lines a little bit, okay? And when you read between the lines on that quote in particular, you kind of have to say, okay, obviously, none of those players were terrible enough that Mathieu Darche and Patrick Waugh would say, I don't ever want them in the lineup again. But obviously, also, none of them were good enough to say, I am taking over this job. I have established myself as the third pair defenseman opposite Scott Mayfield here for this season. And, you know, this is my job. You can't take it away from me because I'm playing so well. Haven't seen that either. And look, obviously, if Alexander Romanov remained healthy, this would not be as big an issue. And for all the criticism that some people have about Mayfield, and I understand it because he can be a frustrating player to watch at times, but for all the criticism that people have about him, he is a guy who you can put out there for 18, 20, 22 minutes if need be a game. And while he will make his share of mistakes like everybody else, he is an established NHL defenseman. And there is a level of trust, even if there are issues with some of the plays he does or does not make in a game. Now, one player who hasn't gotten an opportunity yet that has been surprising is Isaiah George. George, still just 21 years old, has not been called up yet after playing, 33 games for this team last year and doing very well until he got injured and he wore down a little bit. He played probably really well for 20 games and then kind of started to tail off. But Darche addressed that and basically said the reason we haven't seen Isaiah George is due to injury. It's bad luck for him. If he would have been healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if he would have had an opportunity also. It's just that he's been hurt. He's supposed to play this weekend. That's down in Bridgeport, by the way. So we'll see where it goes. So, look, this hasn't been ideal. Cole McWard is a right shot defenseman who has to play on his offside when he's playing with Mayfield, or Mayfield has to switch over. Whatever the case may be, you don't want to have vulnerability there with your team. That is not something you want to do, because everydayers know, and we've discussed it, the Islanders rely on their goalie, whether it's Sorokin or Rittich, to stand on his head and really play outstanding hockey. That's how they win some of these games against better teams. I think Saturday's game against the Wild is a case in point. Were the Islanders the better team for most of the 62 minutes of that game? No. But they hung around, they kept responding, and they got the game to overtime. Sorokin stood on his head, and they got the job done. No complaints about winning the game. Great win on the road against the number 2 team by record in the league. But how great would it be if we can cut down the shots given up, the high danger chances given up? And let's even be frank about this. having these players out there on the ice as long as they have been will, over the course of a season, wear them down. Adam Pelech, Ryan Pollock, we've seen injuries catch up to them in recent years. Scott Mayfield, we've seen injuries catch up to him as well. When you start playing these guys 25 minutes or more per night on a regular basis because you don't trust your third pair defenseman, that's an issue. And let's take it a step further. Say what you want about Mayfield, but you also have Tony DeAngelo, who has been solid offensively, who can give you minutes, but in his own zone, not the best. And then you have Matthew Schaefer, who is smart with the puck, but still undersized physically because of his age and where he's at in his physical development, and is still prone to the occasional rookie mistake. So ultimately, the need for a steady defensive presence on that third pair would be a big boon to this Islanders team. It could have a ripple effect up and down this lineup. It'll help your goalies. It will help your transition. It will help keep your defensemen from wearing down and hopefully keep them healthy. And it'll help you win hockey games. And maybe even, if you get the right guy, cut down on those unnecessary, foolish penalties and help the transition game from defense to offense. If you could add a guy with some physicality, that's a bonus because we have addressed the issue. I still think if he shows himself to be healthy and play well, and Isaiah George did have a good weekend down in Bridgeport, Isaiah George deserves the next chance at this opportunity. But if Isaiah George can't do it, and none of these other guys, who I all like, I mean, how do you not root for Marshall Warren or Cole McWard? But if none of these guys can step up and claim the job, and if Isaiah George, who is probably the next guy to get an opportunity, cannot step up and claim the job, then it's time to try to bring in someone. And it doesn't have to be a big name, and it doesn't have to be an expensive player, and you don't have to give up a first-round pick and a prospect to get him. Give up Maxim Siplikov, for example. You know, make a move for a position that you have one or two too many guys, trade them away, bring in a position where you're a little bit weak. That's a win-win. Win for Siplikov, win for the Islanders, win for everybody. But we'll see how Mathieu Darche handles it. My next move would be Isaiah George, and if that doesn't work out, I look for a trade. We have more to discuss on today's show. Simon Holmstrom had a great game, obviously, in Minnesota. We're going to answer a mailbag question about him. Plus, we'll preview tonight's game in Winnipeg. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, an Edmonton native who was a goalie for the Islanders just after the dynasty years and later played for the LA Kings. Let's see if you can guess who that is. All that coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you could apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. And the boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Also, don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club. If you haven't already done so, you'll get access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Islanders, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. And you'll get an invite to the members-only Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of Locked On Islanders. I'm in there, so it's a great way to communicate with me. And it's just a great opportunity to talk to other hardcore Islander fans. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer for more information, or check the link in the show notes. Let's go to the mailbag. And this is a great question from Jeremy. He did not say where he was from, but he said, "Hey, Gil, so pumped up about the win over Minnesota. I think because Sorokin stood on his head, that was why they were able to keep the game close. And you'll end up giving the hero of the game to Sorokin, but I would love for you to have a podcast episode where you go in depth about Simon Holmstrom and how he's found his scoring touch again, his importance to the team this year and in years to come in their effort to be a Stanley Cup contender. Lou didn't get to make a lot of first-round picks because he traded so many away, and at the time, I believe there was some questioning of this draft choice, but if Holmstrom can be a consistent 20-goal scorer with his defense and penalty kill skills, he's going to be a huge asset to the team. What do you think his ceiling is? Do you think Cal Ritchie being a second-line center with Holmstrom on his wing is a future possibility, or are they most likely third-liners? I'm dreaming of a top six with them as second-liners, and Horvat and Barzal on the top line together." Jeremy, first of all, thank you so much for the question, and it is a good one. And look, Holmstrom hit 20 goals last year, first time in his career. We have seen the upward trajectory of Simon Holmstrom. And I really like Holmstrom. The key with him is realizing the potential that he has. He is 24 years old. He will not turn 25 until late May 24th. He has scored 6, 15, and then 20 goals. Right now, he has 12 in 44 games. That puts him on, let's say, a 21, 22 goal pace, probably a 22 goal pace. He is a career best +8. And while his point total, his goal total will probably be a little higher than last year, he's on pace right now for his point total to be a little bit lower. He is an amazing shot. His shooting percentage in each of his 4 seasons, 15.4 as a rookie, 20.8 in his last 2 seasons, and this year so far, 24 shot percentage, 24.0. The thing he needs to do is to be a little more confident in his offensive ability because he has a good shot. And the amazing thing is right now he's on pace for slightly fewer shots on goal than he had last year. So if I'm coaching up Simon Holmstrom, first of all, for now, I leave him on the third line. He has great chemistry with J.G. Pageau. He's a great penalty killer. He's responsible in his own end. Could he get a little bit of power play time on ice? He does have, at this point, 1 power play assist this year. Yes. What I would do is put him on the second power play unit occasionally and see what he does with a little extra time and space. And if he plays well, give him more time. I think right now, the way, for example, Jonathan Drouin has been struggling, maybe for a game or 2, you take Drouin off the power play, you put Holmstrom in. It sends a little message to Drouin. It gives Holmstrom an opportunity to see if he can do better. But ultimately, I think Holmstrom does have second line potential. I think Cal Ritchie also has second line potential. But remember, Rittich is a rookie and he's 20. So, is Rittich ready for full-time second line duty right now? It might be a little bit of a stretch. In a year or two, do I think he can be a really solid second line player? Absolutely, I do. But as far as Holmstrom is concerned, he's already hit 20 goals. I do believe he can get to 25. 30 maybe pushing it. It would really require a different style of play, and it might compromise some of his defensive ability, and that is something that is a big asset to this team. I could see him on the second line in a year or two if he keeps improving and playing well and getting more confidence in his offensive ability. Because right now, I think that's the main thing that he's missing. That ability to just believe in his shot, believe in his ability, and take his game to the next level. So, to answer your question, yes, I think Simon Holmstrom can eventually be a second-line player if, and it's a big if he believes in himself and continues to improve his game. And do I think he's ever going to be like a 30 or 40 goal scorer? No, he'll be probably a 20, let's say 22 to 27 goal a year kind of a guy. He'll pitch in on penalty kills. He can still check, not physically, but back check, still play responsible defensively and still be an asset to this team in all three zones of the ice. We'll see. And I'll even take it a step further. You add Eklund and Yzerman and maybe one of the first-round picks from this year's draft that the Islanders have as of right now. Maybe you get to the point where the team is so good that Simon Holmstrom is capable of playing on the second line, but he doesn't do it because the team just has too many talented forwards ahead of him on the depth chart. That is another possibility that is kind of exciting for Islander fans to think of. But yeah, I definitely am bullish on the potential of Simon Holmstrom. And Jeremy, again, thank you so much for the question. Islanders are in Winnipeg tonight in Game 3 of this 7-game road trip. We will preview the game, talk about how they beat the Jets, and we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look to the messier parts of how we run our businesses and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal, and it works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNHL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNHL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. So the Islanders are in Winnipeg. It's an 8 o'clock Eastern time start. Depending if the game does go long or go to overtime or a shootout, we may be a little bit later than tomorrow's for tomorrow's premiere on YouTube. We usually premiere at midnight Eastern. If we're running a little behind schedule because of the late start, I will let you know on our X account. But the Jets, it's been a rough year. in Winnipeg. Last season, they were the President's Trophy winners, the team with the best record in the NHL. This year, they were very recently the team with the worst record in the NHL. Now, an injury to Connor Hellebuck, who has since returned to action, certainly had something to do with that, but this is a team that has really struggled. They're 22nd in the league in goals scored, 17th in goals against. Their power play below average at 20th, 18.7%. Their penalty kill 21st at 77.7%. And they're coming off a win over one of the few teams that may be struggling worse than they are in the New Jersey Devils, Winnipeg beating them 4-3 just a couple of days ago. But you look at where this team has been, and while they're on a 2-game winning streak, prior to that, they had lost a dozen games in a row. They won exactly 2 games in the month of December, and after December 13th, that's when the losing streak started, and they did not win from December 13th until January 9th. That is not good for a hockey team. We look at the line combinations for the Jets. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, and Alex Iafallo are the top line. Jonathan Toews, Cole Perfetti, and Gabriel Velarde are the second line. The third trio, Adam Lowry, centering ex-Islander Nino Niederreiter and Vladislav Nemestikov. And the fourth line from left to right, Cole Kopke, Danny Zilkin, and Tanner Pearson. On the blue line, Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello are the top pair. Neil Pionk and Dylan Sandberg, the middle duo. And the third pair is Logan Stanley and Colin Miller. The goalies, Hellebuck and Eric Comrie. Right now, Hayden Fleury is out, and Colin Miller and Morgan Barron are listed as day-to-day, so check their status for the game ultimately tonight. And let's hope that the Islanders can find a way to get that done. Real quick, just wanted to mention one thing before we get to the Islanders' birthday of the day. Sunday, the Islanders in Minnesota after their win over the Wild Saturday night, and they had a pond hockey game at Anders Lee's house, in the back there. And just great to see they were wearing like some of their juniors jerseys and just the guys all having fun. A great team building moment, and you give credit to Anders Lee for hosting that game. And just if you see some of the highlights on social media, the joy that these players brought to it was absolutely great to see. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today is the 65th birthday of former Islanders goalie Kelly Hrudey. The Edmonton native, 5'11", 190 pounds, a second-round pick of the Islanders in 1980, joined the team for the 83-84 season, stayed on the island until late in the 88-89 season, went on to play for the LA Kings, got them to the Stanley Cup final in 1993, and then finished his career with the San Jose Sharks in 96-97 and 97-98. One of his better games as an Islander, how about December 21st, 1984, Islanders visiting the Hartford Civic Center to take on the Whalers. So cue up Brass Bonanza for this game. Obviously, Kelly Hrudey, the goalie for the Islanders. Greg Millen in between the pipes for the Whalers. This was a tight checking defensive game. Greg Gilbert of the Islanders scoring the only goal in the second period. Kelly Hrudey makes 25 saves to get the shutout and the win as the Islanders beat the Whalers 1-0. So Kelly Hrudey is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. It's really It's really fun, and people who are involved absolutely love it. If you never miss an episode of Locked On Islanders, the Everydayer Club is for you. You'll get Locked On Islanders ad-free, plus access to our members-only Discord and a lot more. So head to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer or check the link in our show notes. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR_VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for a little instant insight and analysis. And it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We will have our key takeaways, our hero and go to the game from tonight's contest in Winnipeg, plus our weekly farm and prospects report. We'll keep you up to date on Isaiah George and all the Islanders prospects as they all return from World Juniors and from college break. So lots of news there. And of course, the latest on Bridgeport. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.